Hello and welcome. This is Ayana Lahi, and I'm so very happy that you're here with me today in this week's episode of Be1, Be You. We are diving into the theme, how to make a big shift. What is a big shift? What defines it as big? A big shift is something that feels jolting in your body. It can be the end of an old pattern or an old cycle. It can be an awakening of realizing that something is different than how it's been. It can be the completion of an entire perspective of how you have viewed your life, viewed another person, a situation, your relationship with truth, with yourself. Big means that it takes you out of the ordinary place that you live in every day. You might lose someone that you love. You might have to let go of a job that you depended upon. It might mean seeing someone for who they truly are instead of who you projected upon them to be for you. A big shift is when you need to realize through recognizing some of your behaviors, and you don't know how to make that transition from one place in yourself to another place. You just know that a shift is happening. You might need to be letting go of fear, letting go of anger, a perspective that keeps you separate in yourself so that you're feeling different. How do you awaken into that moment of having a shift? How do you get there? Well, you have to choose to show up every single day and be vigilant with a pattern that you do, whether you're quieting down your mind so you can listen to your heart, you are creating music or art or writing, you are shifting into your true inner gear that does not include your separate self or false self. In other words, your ego self, the self that takes control. The only way to recognize a big shift is to be practicing not going into a control mode. That's really hard for all of us because you create your day most likely through how you feel in control of something or control of it. And you falter to take the time to deepen your connection with your infinite source, that divine intelligence within inside of you. You are trained to live in separation and not interpret, think, and experience truth. The only thing that can really teach you truth is love. And when you make a big shift, first it's set into motion, as I shared earlier, by some upheaval, jolt in your own awareness. And establish that internal connection with that sacred source, that real power within inside of you. Best way for me to describe that is it's eternal, it's there. It's always been there, it's here now, and it always will be. And it's not based upon a particular belief system. It's not based upon you doing certain rites or ceremonies or rituals. When you connect in with the source within inside of yourself, it gives you a momentum and a strength, a foundation to move forward from. So any meditation, contemplation, visualization that you do that removes you from the moment is not going to work in the long term. The best way to begin to take those steps towards making a big shift is to practice each day accessing who you truly are. And as shared in many of my podcasts, the way through that doorway, to open that door into you, means you're having to become acquainted with what's uncomfortable inside, what you may not even like. For instance, if you find yourself having a lot of anger come up and you feel really reactive and you're being just itchy and inwardly uncomfortable and you're reactive and maybe you're wanting attention, maybe you're interpreting everything just so personally that you've blotted out a bigger application or message to exactly what you are realizing. To pay attention to how our mind controls usually has to happen through losing our mind. And to lose your mind means you're going to do it in gradual increments. And you become a great musician. You're playing music and you know your riffs, you know your chords. You can lose yourself, let go into the music as it's pouring through you, as you are opening into that higher source for the inspiration, the lyrics, the melody. It comes because you are part of something higher. If you're interested in creating music that is just the low nature of people and you don't have any real desire to make a real difference with your music, you have to take a really strong look at what motivates you in anything that you're doing that requires and asks of you to let go. To let go, to lose yourself. But you have to have a foundation within you before you can just lose yourself, because you've got to know what you're letting go into. It's a very fine woven path. It's a tapestry that is uniquely yours. You can go through a breakthrough one day. Have you ever done that? Where you feel really open and really loving and you're connecting deeply with the source of life, perhaps your partner, perhaps your work in a different way. You're just feeling vibrant. And then the next day you realize that you don't know how to be in that space, but you know how to keep things under the lid, more in control. You're super aware of how you're doing, the timing of your day. You don't want anybody to take anything from you. You want to be in control. When you catch yourself, envelop yourself with a loving embrace, a loving thought, you can take the time of going, wow, I'm repeating this pattern. I can't make it through this into a big shift because I'm repeating the same pattern. Wow, my partner and I are having an argument. We can't meet eye to eye. It's their fault. Tired of being blamed. It takes the willingness to unravel what's going on inside and to own it. To make a big shift means that you got to surrender. But surrender to what? It's not surrendering and say, oh, it's all my fault, or yeah, it's, I'm doing something wrong. It's not about going there. When you have a breakthrough, there's an awakening that happens, and you usually feel it through a higher energy. You got to know what you've done in your life to block your energies, because then when that pattern comes up habitually, no matter what's happening, you go, well, I'm not going there. I'm going to practice more kindness or patience. I'm going to practice being in my body. I'm going to refuse just to be in my head. Spirit, the flow that moves like it's a very powerful stream, river, current that moves directly from the source of life. The source of life creates all motion in action to happen inside of you and then into your life. Perhaps you've had a dream the night before that's lingering. Perhaps it was a dream of being hurt somehow in the dream state, and you're trying to figure out why. Or perhaps you were betrayed. Perhaps you dreamt of your first girlfriend or boyfriend, and everything shifted, and there was love there, and you got to mend. You get to make a big shift. Oftentimes you feel that breakthrough, but then you also feel everything you've ever held down, pushed back, pushed down, held back from, repressed, and denied. And all of a sudden, you're having all these feelings coming up. And what do? You press them back down, get peaceful. You want to honor what's coming up, and you don't want to hurt anybody with it. You don't want to make somebody else feel bad about themselves. You don't want to act like you know what you're talking about. You want to watch how your own inner masculine and inner feminine are being. Is your inner masculine taking over and acting as if he knows instead of asking questions? Were you trained by a father to have to know it all or to have to shut it all down? And what do you do to yourself? So to make a really big shift, you have to have the tools in place to open and stay open, sustain the openness, understand what your openness is really about, and not separate from it. Oh, it's just a thing in spirit. Yeah. Okay, well, now I'm back where I am. Well, everybody around me needs to accept me for who I am. That's the behavior coming back in that's of separation and protection. And all of a sudden, you find your partner, good friend, life itself blasting through you, cracking something open to get you to crack open, and you're not budging. And all of a sudden that evening, a glass breaks in your kitchen. And it was a nice glass. And you realize the lesson that life was giving you. And perhaps your container wasn't strong enough that day. Perhaps you don't even know what a container is inside of you, inside of your torso, from your root, from your genitals. Beautiful container, a goblet, a vase, a bowl, all the way up through your heart, so that your emotions have a place to live in your lower belly, in the lower part of the vase, the goblet at the base, all the way up, so it flows up through your throat, through your voice. So when you make a big shift, you are surrendering into the you that has a relationship of trust with your heart. The light within your heart is what ignites the truth. The light within your heart also ignites what hurts. And what has hurt does come up. So how do you hold that in relationship with someone that you really love, that you live with, that's a good friend? How do you hold that together? Well, I've learned from experience that unless I say something from the get-go, like this is what's going on with me, I'm feeling like my inner world is being opened up and everything feels as though it's rearranging itself inside of me. And how do you function? How do you move forward? How do you even ask for what you want? And then when you ask for what you want, the other partner or the other person, the friend, the colleague, doesn't have a clue because you sound different, you're acting different than normal. So you've got that choice whether to cocoon in, be alone, talk to spirit, go dialogue, journal, be with yourself, take a walk, or take that risk and open to someone else. Because what you're really needing is for your pain to be seen. And a big shift is always connected to letting go of an emotion, an action, or reaction that you've been involved in, that you've been doing. Let's say you have a family lineage through your matriarchal side of having to take care of the house impeccably. And it's not just cleaning a house, but it defines your self-worth. And that you were taught as a child about your self-worth, about how you perform certain actions. So how you perform something and how you do it, possibly you just really love things clean. And so you clean it until it sparkles. But then the part of yourself that doesn't feel worthy or even knows how to come forward to give yourself the opportunity to feel really good about yourself, you have to go through facing how you've hidden from what hasn't felt good. So to make a really big shift, you've got to practice being in your heart every day so that you have a place to come to. And even when you're doing busy work or work at your computer, thinking work, you're still connected in. You're grokked in. You're woven into your own fabric so you don't leave it, lose it. And that's really scary to some people. Are you one of those folks who becomes afraid when there is a big shift happening inside? You don't even know maybe it's happening inside because you're so used to having all the doorways closed. So you don't have to feel it. You can just do it intellectually. And you get stuck in the intellect instead of staying connected in a moment through your heart, whether you sit and you breathe into your heart each day, then you breathe into your lower belly and connect your heart and lower belly. Whether you breathe and look into the light, a flame flicker of light within inside of your heart, and you allow that light to expand in your chest, your lower belly, up into your head, down through your feet. What do you identify with? Whatever you're going to identify with is what's going to stop you and block you and will come up for you at some point to have to let go of and to move into the wave, onto the wave, through the wave of how the spirit, the flow, the dynamic power of it is moving through you and pushing you to change. The source of life is always pulling you to it. Like a hummingbird being drawn to the center of a flower, you are going through big shifts inside of you because the doors are opening so that you can walk through them crash through them, break through them, whatever way you're going to get through them. Your soul is going to make sure that you get through. And the more you let go and let it happen, the easier it becomes. If you're in relationship with someone who naturally puts up walls, especially after they've had a good day, the next day is pretty bad because the door is shut and everything becomes intellectual again. What do? Sometimes it's really hard to stay connected to your inner joy when you feel like you're the nurturer, the one who feeds and supports the relationship. You're always receiving your energetic flow from the source, whether it's through music, through art, through writing, through being on the ocean, through movement, through receiving the source flowing through your body in a spiritual practice. You have to have a link in so that you can access, assess correctly, and discern that you are going through a shift and you need to make space for you so that you can be here and take up the space inside of yourself rather than shutting the doors to the inner space within inside of you. That's a pattern of self-protection and living in fear and keeping others from coming in because there are boundary issues perhaps where you've let everyone in. And so you are recalibrating your relationship to your true self inside of you and learning how to allow yourself to live and be and expand without pointing the finger at yourself and feeding the false self, which needs the identity, the approval. And we all need that sometimes. But first you have to go within and seek it within. If it's time to make a big shift in your life, give yourself greater space. Happens in time and being with you each day so that you can discover what is breaking through and holding the door open so that you can come through and find your next greater expression of being who you are now in the present. I invite you to come check out the Evolutionary Empowerment Global Village membership on my website, ayanalahi.com, IANALAHI.com. And here you will find many courses, trainings, and programs to support you on your journey into the return of you with your true self. Thanks so very much for joining me and for being here with all of us, holding you in deep love. Until next week, this is Ayana Lahi.